Hey guys, Will Terry here, and I thought I'd talk to you today about a few things, some fan art, Procreate images, and personal projects. So let me just dive right in. Um, for the last year or so, if you guys, if you're following my, my YouTube channel, you know that I'm partnered up with the Mr. Wonderful Jake Parker and all of his wonderfulness with our SVS online school, and he's been bugging me to do some fan art, and I resisted it for at least a year because and before that, other people were like, "How come you don't ever do any fan art or anything like that?" And I just thought, because I like doing what I like doing, and I like other characters and characters from movies and stuff, but I thought, why bother, kind of a thing. And everyone else was doing it. A lot of my students were doing it. A lot of friends were doing it, and then it finally just kind of dawned on me that what you really can't deny is the fact that people have an emotional connection to the characters that they love, from whether it's from games or from different movies, or from books that they've read. And the thing that I think is I've realized after doing this project that I'm going to show you is that it's a way for you to connect with them, and it's a way for you to express your appreciation for those characters, but it's also a way for them to find the other things that you do. And so yeah, I decided to do this project. And the other thing I want to talk about in this video is the need to do personal projects, and I've talked about that in some other ones. But I want to start off by saying that it's the reason that we're able to do amazing things in our lives is because of the accomplishments that we've had in the past, and usually they start off really small. So a couple of things that I did in my life that I can share with you are: one, I was at scout camp when I was 12, and I was invited to do the mile swim, and they basically told me, "You're not going to make it. You probably won't do it. You're only 12, And I was in I was in that lake for 3.5 hours, and I completed that mile swim. And then after that, before that I got this award called a Paul Bunyan Award, and I got that when I was like 9, I think, and that was really tough. But those little things, they sound kind of silly now. I mean, I swam a mile for the first time this year. Since then, just to see how hard it actually was, and it was really easy because I had been swimming this summer at our rec center. But anyway, but those little accomplishments, they tell your brain that you can do more, that you can accomplish more. And I think one of the biggest problems that a lot of you will face is that a lot of the proving grounds for illustrators have kind of dried up. When I got out of school, there was the editorial market that you could kind of just jump into and get work in, and it was actually fairly easy to get work in that market. And that magazines and newspapers are pretty much gone now, so those markets are gone. And I get a lot of questions from people asking, well, where do I go? What do I do to get better? And it's a hard thing for me to answer because I didn't have to go through that. I didn't have to manufacture my own work to get, because you get better by the more work that you do. And I probably did 1,000 editorial paintings. In total, I've done 2,500 to 3,000 actual jobs for clients, including the children's book stuff that I've done. But I wonder, and I think, as I'm giving advice, how do you get better without actually having, work experience? And I think probably one of the best things that you can do is give yourself challenges, or do some of these challenges like the sketch dailies and the Inktober that Jake Parker started, things like that. But I think I see a lot of people start those and they don't finish them sometimes, and I think, well, maybe their heart's not really in it. So what I did, I want to share you with the project that I started working on here, and that is I decided to do, the first little drawing that I did was this little Harry Potter thing, and I just decided I'm going to just tinker around And one of my requirements was that the fan art that I did had to match what I'm the brand that I'm trying to put out there on the internet. So if I go to my blog, and I'll just bring that tab in here. Here's actually a finished one, so you can kind of see on my blog. I've been doing these little fan art pieces, and what I thought was I'll just tinker around with them a little bit, and if I come up with something that I like, maybe it'll develop into something. So when I first started this, it was just to tinker around with something new and to try something new in my spare time. So I just decided on Sunday afternoons I was going to do this, and I wasn't going to spend any more time on it. And then so I started in Procreate, and that's where the Procreate comes in, and that's on the iPad app. My iPad's clear across the room, so I can't grab it right now. But this is a program, and it is called Procreate. Maybe I'll just type that on the screen here, in case, because people are going to ask, how do you spell that? And it's a weird word because, and now I've got like 18-point type. Because doesn't that mean like to create life? There you go. Procreate. Go look for the app. I don't think you can get it for Android, but you can get it for iPads, and it's one of the best drawing programs that I've seen. So that's what these little guys were done in. And let me just kind of go through these. This is well, I won't spoil it. You can guess which ones they are if you can figure out who they are. But I just did these really rough little things, and this is each one of these is maybe a 2-hour just kind of a tinkering around kind of a thing, trying to get it right. I'm trying to look at some reference from online and see. And this, I had a student point this out to me that she didn't like the legs being really stiff like that, and she was right. So I changed those in the final. So you can see that these are just the little roughs that I do, because I can sit out in the living room and with the family and just kind of kick back and draw on the iPad. So it's nothing super difficult. And then I bring them into Photoshop and I finished them up. So the finishes look a little bit more polished. Just drawing on top of them. I can actually show you my setup a little bit for that. So let me just take Gandalf here. I guess that's a spoiler, right? And let's just bring him in and zoom in on this a little bit. And what I wanted to do is I also wanted to push myself and do something that I don't normally do, which is to make it feel like it has more of a traditional look to it. And I think I got the low res for some reason on this. Let me see if I can get the high res. Oh, that should have been a higher. Oh, I guess my document's low. Let me do that again. I'm sorry, you guys. I wasn't ready for this. Nope, it's big. Why does that feel small when I zoom in? Interesting. Maybe someone will point it out for me. Let me get little Edward here. Maybe it's because, oh, I know why. Yeah, I need to zoom out. And I let go too soon. This is great because I'm making a video. I think my thing is acting up a little bit. Maybe I'll cut this part out. There we go. Okay, so here's the little Edward Scissorhand, and what I wanted to do with this is make it look like it's traditional media. So, I use a texture brush, and I don't have time to really explain that. I do have some tutorials, shameless plug, on my SVS site. There's links below for that. But, I have this, I have the texture palette on, and I have shape dynamics, and I have transfer on. And so what that gives me is kind of a pencil feel, and so what I do is I I basically just just draw on this thing and just do little cross hatchings, just like you would if you were working on paper, so that it has kind of a more traditional look. Now, that's out of place right there, but to get some of this hair darker right here, just kind of working in here, and it's tedious and it takes some time. I don't know if you can see that or not, but just kind of drawing or shading like you would with a pencil, and adding those little hatch marks at different intervals. And then I'll turn down the opacity a little bit and draw, a little bit lighter. And then for the face, maybe even lighter yet. And I can get some of that with just a transfer. I can have it on 100% and just push really lightly and get some of that. But I can also get my darks, if I go light, and basically, I'm just using the natural, basically using my Cintiq monitor like I would if I were just drawing on paper. And I'll draw back on top of it with some white, so like this area right here, just kind of working on top of it with white to kind of bring that back in. Maybe that gives you some ideas of how to. A lot of people are looking for traditional looks in their digital work, and so this is just kind of a way to kind of do that. Okay, so anyway, what I thought was I'll do these little pieces, and so maybe I got ahead of myself just a little bit. When I got to about 4 or 5 of them, I thought I had this idea of making like a 9 grid of them. So I was going to make like 3 or 4 of them and just put them out there, and then I kind of got this idea, and it looked like, let me find this here, yeah. So it looked like this. In my mind, I could just see it, and I was like, "Oh, that would be really cool as a print." Now, I'm going to be down at CTNX in LA in November, and I need some things to sell there. So this is kind of hit that that idea. Also, I have a Society 6 shop, and I wanted to put that on there. And let me just find that real quick. Yeah, so that's right here. So, I thought, oh, you know what? That'll look good on a t-shirt as well. So I put that in my Society 6 shop, and I can get it as a print as well. So I can get these in here. Here's what it looks like as a print. And anyway, but the big reason was I don't sell that many from my Society 6, at least not yet. But I have sold some T-shirts today, so that was pretty cool because I just launched this one today. This is I'll look on the date. It's what is today? The 11th of February, 2015. So, but the main goal is to start getting stuff to sell at CTNX and maybe at Comic Cons and things like that. And it's one thing that I've noticed is that this has gotten a ton of attention. Like I put it out on Facebook, and all day long the comments have just been stacking up. People sharing it around. Also put it on Pinterest and on Twitter. Got a ton of attention on Twitter, and I think it's all because it's fan based stuff. Now the next question that everybody asks is the legal one. Is where do you stand legally? And everybody wants to know that. How are you able to sell a T-shirt or a print or anything like that without fear of getting shut down? And I looked into that quite a bit before I did it, and the consensus is you're definitely in gray area. There's no attorney that's going to come out and go, yeah, you're totally fine to do this stuff. Nothing bad's ever going to happen. Here in the U.S., anybody can sue anybody for any reason. So if someone doesn't like, I heard of a woman suing her neighbors because they were playing basketball at 9:30 at night, and every night they were out there from 9:30 to 10 playing basketball, and she didn't like the noise that they were making, and so she sued the family. And anyway, you could sue anybody for anything. So could I get sued by one of these movies, or one of the property owners of the intellectual property from these motion pictures? And yeah, absolutely, I could. I think one thing, if you're going to do this, one of the things you should probably do is ask around and ask if anybody knows if anybody has gotten sued or if anybody's gotten a cease and desist letter. I think a lot of people have heard of people getting cease and desist letters, but I think they were more like, pull it down, not we're going to sue you, we're going to take you to court. There is a fair use. There's a pretty decent YouTube video from San Diego Comic-Con where a former attorney for the motion picture industry actually, I believe he defends artists, or he deals with this with intellectual property rights, and he gave a talk on where you stand legally. And if you listen to that video, you really come away with no more answers than you went in with. He gives a really good talk about it, but in the end, he says you're just kind of in a gray area, and I think what you can go on is basically, for me anyway, is I think that and this is what I think a lot of people think, is that companies are going to go after the whale. They're going to go after the there's a saying in when you're trying to fill out your taxes, that pigs get fat and hogs get slaughtered. And so if you're a hog and you try for too much, like if I were to open up a brick and mortar store and sell t-shirts with this, if I was to license these t-shirts, print thousands of them and try to distribute them and stuff, at some point I'd probably get into trouble. I'd probably get the letter, I'd probably get a visit, I'd probably get maybe some papers filed or something like that on me, and would have to answer a day of reckoning in the court. There's part of the fair use doctrine says that if you change it enough, and if you're using it as an artist, that you might be all right under that. But even with that, like these characters don't look anything like the original ones. But I mean, any attorney could go into court and say, that's Yoda. Look at the ears. Look at the X-wing fighter, and that's Spock. He's got the insignia on his shirt, and so yeah. I mean, like I'm definitely probably in an area where if somebody wanted to make a big deal, they could. To me, it's in the acceptable risk category. I've talked to a lot of people and you go to these events, and everybody's kind of doing this fan art thing, and I think that what a lot of people think is that in the industry that they're not really going after people that really are just kind of doing this as a one man thing, But I would love to hear in the comments if people have other experiences, It could always change too. I think that some people kind of have pontificated that these studios don't really want to make a ton of enemies, that going after the little guy really doesn't really help them much. Other people have different opinions, so I'm gonna see where it leads, and if I have any experiences to share with you, I'll definitely share them on my channel here. The main thing is, it was a really good experience for me. It was something different. If you follow my artwork, you know that I always use color, and this was a stretch for me to force myself into just black and white, and to not add any accent colors, not to add any colors at all to it. But I'm getting like my Twitter's going off and my Facebook's going off because I just launched this today, and here's somebody asking me how much money I'm making off the t-shirts. Did I need to get permission from the studio? This guy says, I had a question about your t-shirts, since they're all trademark characters, can you make money off of them, or did you get permission from the studios? Just wondering. I think the characters are adorable. So I think a lot of people are in that same realm of wondering that. I will definitely let you know. I'll probably do a blog post on it at some point if I get any more information, or if I have anything to share. But I can tell you that doing this little project from start to finish is just one more thing. It's like It's like when you finish something, it just feels so good that you started it, you finished it. I gave myself a deadline. I have some pretty big projects coming up, so I had to get it finished really quickly. I spent a lot of nights this in the past couple weeks up till actually in the last. I posted one on Facebook every day, and that's another thing. I had a strategy to go along with this. I posted one of them on Facebook every day with the idea that at the end, on the ninth day, I would post the last one, which was Edward Scissorhand, and I would post the 9 grid. And one of the reasons why I saved Edward Scissorhands is because I had shared these characters with my class at UVU, and they responded really favorably. And I shared this with a few other people, and they said, "Oh, I love Edward Scissorhands the most." So I saved him for last so that it would end strong. If there's anything I've learned from being in business for the last 22, 23 years is you should always try to think things through, because it matters. If I had some of these didn't get as good a response as others, and I could kind of tell when I had shared them with classmates or with my class and with some other friends online, which ones they weren't talking about. Well, I wanted to put those in the middle, just like you would stack in front end load your portfolio, and you front end and then you back end it. You want the filler stuff kind of in the middle somewhere. So I started off with Neo because I thought he would be a strong character, and then I followed him up with Yoda because I thought Yoda would be strong, and then Gandalf because I thought Gandalf would be really strong as well, to get the ball rolling. And then I kind of put the other characters in there that I wasn't really that sure about, but I definitely wanted to end with Edward Scissorhands. And so so just finishing this has been awesome, and I want to encourage you to do a project like this. Have a good idea. Don't make it too big, and that's a big piece of advice that I could give you is, if you haven't, one of the worst things you can do is to bite off more than you can chew, not finish it, and then you've just taught yourself, I'm not a finisher. I'm not an artist. I can't do this. I can't, and that's never a position that you want to be in. I had someone, and I hope he doesn't mind me sharing this story, but he asked me, should I do this Kickstarter project? And he's probably watching this video, and so again, I really hope that this doesn't offend you that I'm sharing this story. But he wanted to do a Kickstarter project, and he asked me, should I do this? And the Kickstarter project is usually pretty. If you do it right, it's a big project. This what I did here was way easier than doing a Kickstarter. But and I said, well, before you jump into doing a Kickstarter, because one of the worst things you can do is, I personally think launching a Kickstarter should be a lot like asking a girl to marry you. You should know the answer before you ask. Like you never want to say, hey, do you want to marry me? No. Oh, darn. You don't want to find out that your Kickstarter didn't fund. You want to know that it's going to fund. And there's a lot of people that do a Kickstarter, like the Exploding Kitties, that's over $5 million right now by Matthew Inman of the Oatmeal. And he knew that his Kickstarter was going to fund. Now he's Matthew Inman, but I think a lot of people that are on a much smaller level that have a huge audience, they can bite off something small and know it's going to fund. They just don't know how big it's going to go. But they've done their due diligence. So anyway, he asked if he should do this Kickstarter, and I said, well, before you launch it, my advice would be to start a Facebook page for your project. He's like, oh, start a whole Facebook page? I already have a Facebook page. And then I messaged him back and I said, well, no, here's the thing. It's easy to start a Facebook page for your project, like a professional page for that product. Launch it out there and see if you can get 500 to 1,000 likes. If you can't get 500 to 1,000 people to click like for free on your project, then how are you going to expect to get that many to buy your project? Put money down behind it. And he responded, oh, he was really disappointed, and he said, oh, I think he said I only have somewhere around 100 likes on my Facebook page that I've had for a year or 2 years or something like that. So I think it was like the answer to him is like, well, if I can't get 500, if I only have 100 on my personal page, I'm not going to probably be able to get that many, and so maybe I shouldn't do it. But the thing is, it's easier not to do a big project like that and to bite off smaller things and to see how people respond to them than it is to do a big, huge thing. You know, the idea popped into my head: do some sort of a product with something like this and do a Kickstarter, and then I shoved it right back out because I don't have an audience for this kind of stuff. I'm getting one now as the messages are coming in right now on Facebook and Twitter, and I don't think I've ever gotten this many retweets on Twitter before. So if you go to Twitter, I'm WillTerry333, and you can see that I put this project out there and it's been retweeted a bunch of times. But again, I think, you know, and the thing is, they're not retweeting it because it's amazing artwork or anything. They're retweeting because it's a twist on something that's really familiar to them. And my hope is that some of these people that are tweeting to me right now will actually follow the breadcrumbs back to my website and see that, oh, he's got his own artwork. Oh, he's a children's book illustrator. Oh, he actually has tutorials for sale, and he has prints for sale, and he has you know, who knows what else. And maybe some of those people are art directors or editors that could hire me. You know I got a tweet from a guy who works at Hasbro today who said, let me see if I can find it really quick. I'm just going to scroll back. It is from Dustin Hanson, and he says before that, let's see. He says, this will be hanging on my wall. Glad you put it on Society 6. So what more? And first he says, brilliant. So what more could I get than an art director that works at Hasbro digging on this and saying that he's going to buy the print? So anyway, I'm not going to give you his Twitter because he might get ticked. But you can see him. If you follow me, you can see the conversation right now. Anyway. That's it. I got links to my shop for my print shop in here. And anyway, good luck on your projects. Do them often, and that, I think, will really help you learn and grow. I definitely learned a lot from doing this. In fact, one last little thing is, I don't know if you can see it, but I can see it, that the level of polish from this first one, these actually do go in order. And so this was the one that I did yesterday, the day before that. I did Spock the day before that, and Harry, and this was the last one. And I actually got better at this style, I think. They were a little. This was one of them was a little rougher, and I might actually go back and rework it a little bit. All right, thanks for watching my video, and do not subscribe unless you want more videos like this.